Awesome. Awesome. Welcome everybody to another night of Empowerment Week. We have had a great week so far. I have so many familiar faces on the screen. So many more people have been here multiple nights, and I'm so happy that you guys are investing some time into yourselves. This is great. This is great. We've been having some confidence coaching. We've had some mindset development, and today I'm really excited to have some Reiki healing and some other mindset stuff just to really kind of get us centered and balanced. We have a lovely woman here. Her name is Marcelle, and she is going to take over and lead the way. So if you want to turn on your cameras and get a little active, let's get the night going. So go ahead, Marcelle, take it over.
Forgot to unmute myself. That would help, wouldn't it? Okay, so can you see my presentation? Okay, cool. So I'm Marcelle, and I'm so grateful for Wheel With Me Foundation for inviting me to talk to you guys about Reiki healing. So you can have your camera on, off. It's good to have the room muted just for, people that have kind of sensory issues or whatnot. But if you do want to talk, or you have a question or comment or anything, please feel free to unmute yourself, interrupt me, do what you need to do. And if you feel more comfortable putting it in the chat, that's cool too. I'll try to keep my eye on the chat. But Bree, if maybe you could help me out with that, that'd be great. Cool, perfect. So let's get started. So to get started, first of all, I'm going to lead you through a visualization meditation just to get us kind of set up for today. It's got little kind of hidden magic in it and that we can discuss afterwards. So hope you guys are all cool with that. And we'll be talking, and then I'll tell you a bit about me. We'll talk about what is Reiki and why we use it and all that. I'll give you a little background into my Reiki journey, give you some tips and tricks on how to do Reiki on yourself. And then at the end, there'll be an optional distance Reiki offering imparted by me. Again, that is completely optional. So we'll just dive right in. We're going to go into the guided visualization. So the cool thing about visualization is you really don't have to do much but listen to my voice and let your imagination take over. So just go ahead and create a sacred space here. Make sure that you won't be as disturbed as much as possible, and use whatever method suits you to kind of get yourself in a relaxed state. You can close your eyes or leave them open. There's never any need to close your eyes during a meditation. And you can always change your mind throughout the practice as well. There's no need to stay in this rigid posture either. That's a fallacy of meditation. The best part is being mindful. So if your body is telling you that you're a little uncomfortable, you need to do a little wiggle, that's mindfulness, and that's better than staying rigid. So just listen to your body, listen to yourself. So whenever you're ready to kind of settle in, tap in, we're going to take 3 deep breaths together. So breathing in, filling your lungs with air, and then letting that go, exhaling, letting all the air out. Great. We'll do 2 more just like that. So deep inhale, you can feel it filling up your lungs, and then just slowly let it go. And just 1 more time. Deep inhale, nice, soft, long exhale. So in this moment, just allow and invite your body to become more relaxed as we get deeper into the meditation. And see, sense, or feel yourself going into this sacred space within your heart. And there's no right or wrong here. Whatever is perfect. So I'd like you to imagine you're standing on a gravel road at the edge of a forest. And in front of you are 5 stone steps that lead down to a path surrounded by trees. And you start down the steps. At the first step, your body becomes completely relaxed. At the second step, your mind quiet. On the third step, you feel peace flowing through you. The fourth step, you know you are in a safe place. And as you step onto the fifth and final step, your vision becomes sharp and clear, and the light seems brighter and the colors more vivid. You follow the path into the trees, fully taking in everything that you see. You notice each subtle hue of the green leaves and the brown dirt and even yellow or red leaves catching your eye. The light filters through the treetops and lights up the path in front of you. You look up and see bits of blue sky between the tall trees. And you might even notice the textures of the tree bark, some smooth and some gnarled, knotted, and rough. You notice tiny flowers on delicate stalks nestled against the root of a tree. Twigs and pebbles lay on the path. You might even feel a slight cool breeze that rustles the leaves. You become aware of mossy smells and the singing of birds high above you and the buzzings of the insects around you. You can feel life here. So you keep going down the path and you come to an area where you can hear the running water. So you kind of work your way towards the sound. And now you're on the bank of a wide stream, and the brighter the sun can shine onto you. You can see the sun overhead. And you notice a little clearing. And in this clearing, you see this soft, warm blanket. What color is this blanket? Just choose a color that comes to you in this moment, whatever you choose the blanket is. So you make your way to the blanket, and this blanket provides you with a sense of well-being and of feeling loved somehow. You decide to stay here a while and watch the water flow by. Then in a rustling in the trees in the opposite bank catches your attention, and you look up to see an animal emerging from the trees. What kind of animal is it? Let whatever it is that first comes to mind, let that be. The animal sees you move cautiously towards the stream, and so you know it's watching you, and you feel safe though. There's no fear. There's almost an awe of being this close to this animal as it comes closer to you. You have a clear and unobstructed view of this animal now, and you can see it in greater detail. The shape of its body, muscle, and structure. The shape of its limbs and its head. You notice its texture, maybe it's fur or scales, feathers, or skin. You can see its colors, but not just the body's colors, but the colors of its eyes. And you look into those eyes and feel a connection. And somehow you know this animal has a message for you. What is it telling you? What would this animal have to say? Perhaps even asking it, what is it that I need to know today? Listen. Perhaps it's just a message of mutual respect. Perhaps it's something else. Let the message come to you. Trust that whatever message you hear is the right one. You repeat the message to yourself a few times if you want to remember it deeper. Then, almost by magic, you look down and notice that there is a gift right in front of you. Almost like the animal has brought it to you somehow, just for you. You're excited and you open its contents to reveal what's inside. Examine the gift. And as you do, you know, as odd as it might be, it's something dear to your heart and something that you really needed now. So having received this information, take a moment in your heart to extend gratitude to this spirit animal and for this gift. And that almost becomes a signal to the animal, and it moves back to where it came. You watch it go, grateful for the opportunity to see it so close and for the message it shared with you and the gift. Now, knowing that your time here is done, you turn away from the stream and make your way back along the forest path under the thick trees the way you came. Knowing that you can always return here whenever you feel called to. This is your sacred, safe space. Make it to the steps and you start to go up. I guess it should be a ramp. You go up the ramp. And as you move higher and higher, you feel yourself becoming more aware of your breath. And a little further forward, you feel more in your body. And then as you become even closer to the top, you become aware of the room around you. In your own time and in your own way, allow yourself to come back into the room and leave your safe space for now. Like I said, knowing that you can return anytime you like. And as you reach the top, you're back to this present moment, bringing with you the animal's message and the gift and the sense of peace you found in the forest. Take a few deep breaths here. Continue to breathe smoothly. Your safe space is available to you whenever you need to go there. I invite you to, it's accessible for you to bring your hands together, palms together in front of your heart in prayer. And then just gently rub your palms together, creating a little bit of friction, some heat, some energy. Being mindful of any eyewear that you have on right now. You can gently cup your hands, the palms of your hands over your eyes. And if your eyes are closed, you can gently blink them open and then gently release the hands and the arms down back to your lap. And just take a moment to reawaken here, to come back. Now, if anybody is willing, to share what their animal was, what the color of their blanket was, or the gift, or anything else, you can do that either by unmuting yourself or throwing it in the chat. We're a big enough group that I won't go around and try to give you the symbolism for it all. But if you are curious, you can always send me an email, which I'll give to you at the end, and you can email me and I'll be glad to give you that insight. You can always just Google it as well. So that meditation is a great way to kind of tap into your subconscious, tap into a safe space. I'm getting some things in the chat, a blue blanket and a fox. That's super cool. They go very well together. Pink blanket and a rabbit. I have bunnies, so rabbits are very near and dear to me. A monkey, that's amazing. A yellow blanket and a deer, such varied responses. I love it, love it. So I'll tell you a little bit about me. I found it chronically surviving almost 5 years ago now, which is a collective, you would say, for young adults living with disabilities and chronic conditions. And I also offer healing practices as well through there. So my short list of medications are familial Mediterranean fever, FMF. It's an auto-inflammatory systemic disorder. So basically I have arthritis pretty bad in all of my joints. And then I also have EDS, hypermobility type, which is a connective tissue disorder that causes me to dislocate a lot and be unstable. And then I have narcolepsy with cataplexy, which causes me to pass out a lot and very tired. So I've graduated from multiple mobility aids throughout the past 7 years, which was difficult for me, as it probably is for everybody, right? And so that's what kind of fueled me to want to really become an advocate and share my story, and hopefully hear as many stories of others as possible as well, because that really fuels me. I find that what sets us apart is really what connects us as well. So yeah, and so my areas of study, I originally went to school for biomedical engineering. So I'm a biomedical engineer, worked in field for 2 years, and then 3 years. And then my disability kind of caught up with me, and I had to stop working and go on permanent disability. But being pretty ambitious, I couldn't just, not do anything. So in the process of, I don't know, I'm the type of person that does anything and everything to help myself. And I have a very open mind and very curious to a fault, like I said. So after very much resistance, I started doing yoga and meditation, and it changed my life. Loved it. Back when I was a little bit more able as well. So when I started losing my mobility, it created a dilemma on how do I continue my practice. So I changed the practice. So I went back and did research and looked into different lineages of yoga that are not the Instagram yoga that we see where people are doing handstands and stuff, right? I needed soulful yoga. And so that kind of led me into bioenergetics, which I'm pulling from my scientific background in bioengineering, because I did a lot in bioenergetics when I was studying and created some pretty cool devices based off the bioenergetic field of the human body. So I was already kind of tapped into that knowledge, let's say, but from a very scientific standpoint. And then I'm Native Canadian, so my background, my culture just clashed with science for a while. And then, but once I got into deeper energy healing, and actually, let's pause for a second. I'm going to be using healing a lot in this presentation, but healing doesn't mean like curing or whatever, getting rid of something. The actual root of healing or to heal is Greek, I believe, or Latin, and it means to make whole. So how I view healing, I view it as creating wholeness in my life, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And spiritually was a big component that I was missing for a really long time. So diving into energy healing because I wanted to be that scientist to figure it out. The opposite happened. I actually realized that the science was explaining the like spiritual, quote unquote, experiences that I had. And it just gave me a deeper dive into wanting to learn more and wanting to know how it could benefit me, and actually seeking out healers and teachers that have offered me almost in a miraculous way some incredible forms of healing that are completely self-directed and that have changed my life. And that's my goal now, is to like share the wealth and hope other people can find some kind of solace in it as well. Because when we're faced with like disability, we often can feel like, sorry, I went too far. We can often feel like we don't have much control over what we do, what people do to our bodies, like all of these things. And I'm a little bit of a control freak, so I needed something, even if it was a semblance of I have some control over what is going on in my body. And that ultimately led me to hospice work. So I predominantly do hospice work now and work with people end of life. And I do it from an energy healer perspective. And they are just a really good group of people that can really deepen my knowledge. So they're my teachers, really, at the end of the day. It's a very special field for me. It's not for everybody. It's for me. So before we get into it, I want to share the wise words of my Reiki master, Tasha Ruki. And she says this beautifully. So you're all beautiful, wise, strong, capable, and you're on a mission. You're loved by many and you matter. I'm here to be your guide and to give you a little glimpse into my experience with Reiki. You don't have to believe everything I say. Please listen with their heart open and take what resonates you and leave the rest. And that's a motto that we should all use in life, just in general, right? And so with that, what's Reiki? So I want to know how many here, and you can kind of like do the reactions if you don't want to take your camera off or whatever. Who knows what Reiki is? Who's ever heard of Reiki? So we got a few. Has anybody ever had Reiki done on them? Okay, so we have what I can see. That's good. That's actually pretty good considering most people don't really know what it is. So Reiki is a little bit hard to define. So it's gonna be a big roundabout way to kind of explain it. But so I'm gonna go into the origins and my lineage history. Then we're talking about energetic systems. Go a little bit into the medical research because I kind of feel like I have to validate myself, and then into techniques. And I think with all of this, we'll get a really good idea of what Reiki is, because in its simplest example is so many people have different ways of explaining what it is, but like, you know how in Star Wars they say like use the force. Well, like the force, you could see it as Reiki. It's or like prana, which is what is often in like Buddhism and yoga world, universal energy, source energy, divine energy, spiritual energy. There are so many synonyms or ways of explaining it. And I think personally, like I think it is a personal experience. Like what is Reiki to you? What is energy to you? What does that mean? And I hope that after this presentation, you'll have basis to kind of explore that definition for yourself. So my so the origins and lineage history. So I'm going to give you like the basics. So the original Reiki master was Dr. Usui. So that's why it's called Usui Reiki Ryoho. And basically what happened to this dude, he was a monk, and then he went on this mountain, the sacred mountain in Japan, just outside of Kyoto. And he went there for 21 days to meditate. And he came back with the gift of Reiki. There is a bunch of really weird stories about what happened on that mountain. Some people say like there's like wild stories. We don't really know what happened because he didn't keep a journal or any kind of records. It was all just orally taught. But like there's some say that there was an alien that visited him and imparted Reiki on him. There's others that say it was more like a god or an archangel or an angel or some sort of divine intervention. Some say it was just the meditation that unlocked this kind of self-knowledge. Because at the end of the day, what Reiki is just being able to be aware of your own energy, which is source and which is universal energy, and then directing it or harnessing it. So if we already have this innate ability intrinsically within us, maybe he didn't have to get it from anywhere else, but from inside. That's what I choose to believe. So after Dr. Usui created his first Reiki clinic, so some people believe that like Reiki is really old, like ancient times, thousands of years old, like Buddhism and stuff. It's not. It's since the 1900s. So, I mean, it's relatively new in terms of a kind of this type of practice, this more spiritual kind of practice. And then his disciple was Hayashi, and Hayashi then imparted everything onto Miss Takata. And my Reiki master, Tasharuki, that I talked about earlier, she was attuned by Denise Krundal, who is once removed from Miss Takata. So Miss Takata initiated Beth Gray, who initiated Denise Krundal, who initiated Tasha, who initiated me. And I know that sounds like a lot, but it's really not that much, that far off, which is why I chose Tasha. I wanted to get as close to the lineage as I could. So energy system. So like I said, like as humans, everything we do requires energy. Everything we do. We need energy every morning to open our eyes, to get out of bed, to even to just plan what we'll do next. That takes energy. So from your first month in the room to your ending days, our bodies use this energy to keep life flowing. So you can think of this energy as like fuel, and you're the car. So you're the car, you can't get anywhere if you don't have fuel. So this energy kind of animates you. So that's another way of like understanding Reiki. It's the energy or the force that animates all living beings. So where does this fuel come from though? Like, you know what I mean? Where does it come from? Well, it's universal energy that flows through everything, and it's intangible, right? You can't feel it. I mean, some people can feel it, but you can't feel it. But it's like the wind, right? We can't see the wind, but we can infer that it's real by the leaves rustling in the trees, or by feeling it on your skin. It's there. It's real. It's a thing. And so in bioenergetics, in like when I was in engineering, so for instance, an ECG. Most of us have had an ECG. They put the little electrodes on you. Well, how that actually works is it's measuring your electromagnetic field. It's actually not measuring what's inside you. It's measuring what's out, like what's in your field of energy. So when I first learned that blew my mind. I'm like, what? We're like measuring air, basically. But the air is different close to our bodies as it is out. So this energy is you can measure it. Some people call it like aura, your aura. You know, there's some mystics that can see auras, all that jazz. It goes into chakras, which is another form of energy healing. which kind of goes a lot hand in hand with Reiki, but too much for today. And then that, like from my bioenergetic understanding, then you go into more of like the metaphysical, spiritual stuff. So that's when we get into more of like universal energy and how this works and how it animates us. Where does it come from? Why is it here? And then, which leads me to the universal energy and channeling. So since this, and we can consciously choose to do what's next or to show up for this presentation, you can also direct that energy in a different way as well, not only through conscious thought or movement, but through Reiki. So our energy system, this is a fun little diagram to kind of give a pictorial representation of what your aura could look like or what could be going on. Obviously, you can't see these things, but you might actually feel them, right? So has anybody here, by a raise of hand, have you ever been in a situation where you felt someone's energy? And you might not have realized it was energy, but you felt their energy and you didn't even speak to them yet, right? And, or, you can tell that they're angry or they're upset or even confused or all of those things, right? Or even a time where you felt drained after spending time with someone, a specific someone maybe. So like that's basically intuitive power. Like that is your ability it's a sensory perception of someone else's energy. So your energy is picking up on their energy. So this kind of diagram kind of can show different ways that other people's energy can affect you and vice versa, because it's always like a give and take situation. So this is like some people call it a psychic muscle. I think psychic is a word in the zeitgeist that's gotten a little bit overused or gone in a different direction. I think psychic more in the ability to sense energy. Doesn't have to be esoteric or ethereal or divine or anything like that. It happens on a subtle level. So some people call it subtle energy because it's subtle, but we're exposed to it all the time. So let's deconstruct it a little bit further. So Rei, first part of Reiki, means universal. That's just direct translation. And Ki, not Chi, but Ki is energy force. So basically, it's just a way of channeling energy and directing it either to yourself or to someone else or something else or whatever. Some people call it like a meditative experience to be able to tap in to your more inner subtle energy systems. So it has its Japanese origins. But like for me personally, it's like a way, it does a lot of things. So it's a way for me to protect my energy. It's a way for me to harness my energy, to be conscious and responsible for my energy, to recharge my energy, and so on and so forth, right? So most of us don't spend much time thinking about this universal energy and how it affects our daily lives, right? But we actually work with it all of the time, usually subconsciously because it's subtle energy. But if we can understand how this energy flows and sustains our own body, we can have more control on how to use this force. Sorry. So the first step is just becoming aware of this ability that we all have intrinsically from being born to manipulate this energy in a conscious way. And that's where the journey begins. So Reiki is a win-win situation. Okay, so because when you're giving it, you're getting it. So it's really cool in that way. But it's not giving away your life force. So a lot of people kind of feel that, right? Like they think like, oh, I'm harnessing my energy and I'm giving it to someone else. You're not. It's flowing through you. So you're basically harnessing the universal energy. It flows through you and it's directed outward. So you're not taking your own energy and giving it away. But one thing that I find is important is that we need, or to step into this practice, there's almost a need to drop the story of needing to fix anything. Because then it becomes personal. So if you can take yourself out of that equation, or the fixing anything out of the equation, you start to show up as acceptance, peace, and love. And I know those are like big words, but like truly, you're just accepting. And that is a perfect vehicle for universal energy. So we can start to be really radical in accepting ourselves if we use this as a practice. And therefore, vicariously allowing others to feel complete acceptance for themselves as well. And then it's from this place of presence, of, authenticity, of openness, that you really become a sieve, a channel for source energy. And you can start aligning it. Another big part of why I say that is because although I'm going to show you like hand placements, you have to really trust and have faith that the energy knows where to go, that the energy knows what to do, that you're basically taking yourself out of the equation. You're just a conduit. You're like a wire. And then once we can do that, it takes a lot of practice, right? It's not something that's going to happen overnight. You're going to struggle with it probably forever. I still struggle with it a lot. But then that's when you can really start to deepen, or choose to deepen, your study into Reiki or energy work in general, and maybe even get initiated by a Reiki master yourself, like I was. I'll go so quickly through the medical literature, but it's basically the literature. There's a lot now, and it doesn't only point to the benefits that it has for physical health, as in relieving pain. So there's been so many studies to do with relieving pain or post-operative care. Another one is from the physical perspective is moving stagnant energy, so moving circulation. So for some of us that aren't walking around, moving that energy, letting it flow through our limbs or areas of our body that have a little bit more stagnation, can be very beneficial for the circulatory system, which vicariously supports so many other parts of our system. The other things are mental health. So it has incredible benefits for relaxation, sleep, mood, and anxiety, stress. So all those emotional and mental things that we deal with on pretty regularly, it really helps with that as well. And then on a spiritual level, so just being more accepting of your situation, creating a better quality of life, creating a more whole life, wholesome life. So while it has no contraindication, so it's never going to affect any medical interventions that you have. It's important that you get medical interventions. So like if something hurts, don't try to Reiki it, go to the doctor. Like, you can Reiki it after, right? And, or like, it's not, but like if you can do Reiki and then you just talk to your doctors, right? Like I'm at the point now where I'm like, I just do it. My doctors know I do it. I don't tell them every time I do it. They don't need to know. So all I'm saying is it's not going to interfere, but you still need to, it's not a replacement for medical intervention, but it can really, like the literature for the efficacy of its support in conventional medical treatments is outstanding. So if anybody's actually really interested in the medical research, I have like an annotated bibliography that I'm like happy to dish out for the nerds like me. So, okay, let's get into it. Wait, no, first, anybody have questions? Anybody still not clear what Reiki is, or you're getting there, but you're kind of like missing something? And if that's the case, that's totally fine, because it took me a while to get clear on what Reiki was. We're good. Okay, cool. So basic self Reiki. Because I don't want you getting out of here and going to Reiki other people, right? Just do it on yourself. But so self Reiki practice, it's real simple, but on the outside, but it can become deceptively kind of intricate. So first is a safe space. So that's why I started with the meditation that we did today. It doesn't need to be that meditation, but like any kind of meditative, mindful space that you can get yourself in. So I'm not talking only physical space, like obviously having a nice undisturbed physical space is ideal, but also a safe space up here. So that's the first step. And then the second step is twofold. So it's by one, setting an intention. And this can be as simple as today, I'm going to breathe, or today I'm going to lay my hands on my knee for 10 minutes, or it doesn't have to be anything intricate. But setting that intention is a great way to set up your practice. And then really intentionally in setting your intention, having an open heart to receive whatever you're meant to receive. And this is the part of the faith that I was talking about, having faith that it's going to go and do what it needs to do. And that can take time to get there. But helpful kind of dogmas or things to consider is that when you're setting your intention, energy flows where attention goes. That's why we're setting the intention. So we can be very clear about where we want the energy to flow. But then energy grows where breath flows. So that's why I know some conditions make it difficult to breathe. And so if I have asthma, so sometimes it's hard for me to do like breath practices, but just intentionally slowing and lengthening your breath is enough here to kind of get you into that heart space. Because energetically, when you're mindful of your breath, you're energetically opening your heart. So for the hand positions, I'm going to show you some, but it's best to trust your intuition, I find. Like, trust your gut. And basically just use these are only 6, but like these very rudimentary positions as roadmaps for the journey, not the journey itself. And the hands, like for those of you who know what Reiki is, who had done Reiki, some practitioners do Reiki hovering a few inches above the body, some practitioners directly on the body. My practice is I was taught on the body. And the surprising reason for that is because I have a disability. So when you're hovering over someone for an hour, it's hard. Like my upper body is pretty strong, but it's hard to stay up there for a while. So I put my hand on the person's body so I can kind of give myself a little bit of leverage. It's like when I first started, I thought, okay, there's a reason it's more powerful with your hands on the body. My teacher's like, no, it's because it's just too hard. Obviously, that is with permission. Okay, so if the client, like if you're not consenting to yourself touching yourself, that's fine. But like I always ask for consent, obviously, when I'm practicing on others. But really, there's no more power in hovering or directly on. They're just different. So the hands, like most often you start over the eyes, and then you kind of like move your way kind of down your body. You can even add like there's not this picture on here, but you can add like your hips, your legs, your feet, anywhere really, your back. So that's why it's like just be intuitive. So for me, like a lot of my daily Reiki stuff is for my pain. So like if I blew on my shoulder, I'll Reiki my shoulder, right? Like I'm not gonna go start doing Reiki here. Like I mean, I could do Reiki here and it will probably be the same, but just because I do it where it hurts, because I use it a lot for pain management and like moving stagnant energy. So I have a very like I know where I want to put my hands, but sometimes you don't really know, so you just wherever you feel like touching, you know what I mean? Like you just go with what your gut tells you. Again, a lot of that part is faith in the energy, knowing where to go. So I'll tell you a little bit about me. I've already sort of talked about it a little bit, but I was like deeply resistant to like the whole woo world of like yoga, meditation, all that crap. I say crap, and now I'm a yoga teacher, astrologer, Reiki practitioner, all these things, right? But like I was a very scientific mind. But then getting into yoga was my first experience with Reiki. So some yoga classes, especially in the circles that I happen to be in, at the end when you're in Shavasana, which is my favorite pose, where you're basically lying on the ground doing nothing, some teachers will come around and, with your permission, do Reiki on you at the end of yoga. And I had done it a couple, like I'm like, yeah, whatever, and never really felt much. But then there was this one teacher where I felt like a crazy wave of, I didn't know what at the time, but I was like, this is crazy. Had the best night of my life that night, and that hooked me. And I was like, I gotta know what this is. I gotta know. And then so I started attending group healing. So like you would go to a group, and then the practitioner would go around the room and kind of do all of us and at once. And then I was like, I want one-on-one. I need like that real experience. And then if it wasn't so like expensive, I would, and I'm really poor, I would like do it all the time, which is probably why I became a Reiki, so I could just do it myself. But that's really what hooked me. And I did a Reiki session with Kasha, and I'm like, the next weekend I was signed up for her level 1. So that's when I took Reiki level 1. So Reiki level 1 is first is initiation. So it sounds really like woo of like initiation or attunement. It's basically like she initiates you. So she's like, you are now a Reiki level 1. So it's imparting part of her energy. I'm not going to get too much into why that is, but it's basically just more about going from teacher to student, and it being an oral tradition, and it has to be direct. So I can't just do it I'm sure there actually are online Reiki courses. I would not suggest. That's my personal opinion. But Reiki level 1 really just gives you the basics. It really allows you to start that self Reiki practice and start practicing on like family members, friends, stuff like that, not in a professional capacity. So I did that for a while, 8 months. And then I was ready for level 2. I wanted to do it professionally. I wanted to add it to my yoga classes. And without being certified, I didn't feel good getting away with that. And so that's the second initiation. And the second initiation is when we are able to practice on others. And then we're given these well-kept secret symbols that we use to power up the Reiki, and then also give Reiki at a distance, which optionally you will be able to take part in at the end of today. Oh no. So, and then I became a Reiki practitioner and started doing it I do it with chronic disease surviving. I do it with hospice patients, and I do it kind of, I'll go to a yoga class and I'll be the Reiki practitioner. I'm not teaching yoga. I just strictly go there for yoga, or for Reiki, sorry. So a little bit about distance Reiki before we get into it. So it's basically where I use a symbol and I'm able to direct the Reiki to willing participants that are not physically in the same space as me. Basically, it operates on the Hermetic law of similarity. No need to write that down. No one's going to question you about it. But basically, it's a theory that says that we're all connected through this universal energy. So since we all contain this energy and we're all connected by it, then you can send it through time and space. So it can be sent to a single person or a group of individuals. So before we get into the Reiki, for those that are willing, and I am mindful of time, so I'll give maybe a couple minutes for questions. You can always just reach out to me afterwards if you want to ask a more detailed question as well. So I'm going to open it up for questions for anybody who has any questions. I just either completely blew your mind and you're like, what the hell is this girl talking about? Or I was like very clear, which I doubt it's the latter. Pretty sure it's earlier.
You mentioned earlier that that you had a couple people that you tried to send some energy and it didn't really work. Do you have an idea of why only certain people or that one person kind of triggered that in the beginning? And since then, have you been able to pick up energy from anyone now? Or was that just, do you think, a lack of connection from those humans in general instead of like a lack of openness to the energy? Does that make sense?
Yes, it totally makes sense. And I think it's like a bit of both. I think I was quite skeptical at the beginning. So though that can kind of interfere a little bit, not too, like a little bit, like I still received some of it. Once I started practicing, or once I became attuned, there was a radical change in how I felt my energy. I'm not gonna lie. So I became way more aware. So I don't think it increased my power, but more of my awareness. And with that awareness becomes greater potential for use, if that makes sense. Like, for example, like when I do it in yoga classes, it's not even a hot yoga class. And because I'm generating so much energy, they have to kick on the AC because I raise the temperature by like 5, 6 degrees, like quite noticeable. So there are some practitioners that you'll feel it a lot more readily, others you won't. I'm not sold on the idea that one's more powerful than the other, though. I think maybe it's just a different energy, or not a different energy, but a different manifestation, let's say. Maybe it's going to something different and it's more in the lower chakra, so you're not going to feel it as electrically as you would. Great question. Millie, who is gone now? Oh no. Okay, well, hopefully she'll be able to reach out to me. All right, so since we have 5 minutes left, so how it works for the distance Reiki is if you're willing to receive the Reiki today, we're gonna, not right now, but I'm gonna get you guys to raise your hand or use the thing or put it in the chat so I know exactly who wants it and who doesn't. And then from there, if you choose not to receive it, you can still take part in the meditation because I'm going to lead you to a shortened version of the meditation we did earlier, just so you're in a space for it. You can still take part in the meditation. You won't receive the Reiki. Like that's not how it works. So, okay. With that, who wants Reiki? Okay. All right. Sounds good. So get yourselves in a nice, comfortable position. You can have your cameras on or off, it doesn't matter. You can have your eyes opened or closed, whatever feels right for you. And then just take a couple deep breaths here. Settling in. Tapping into that heart space, perhaps even setting an intention for the practice. It's not required. And then visualize yourself at the edge of that forest. And make your way down to your blanket. Do it in your own time, in your own way. With each motion forward that you get closer to your blanket, you get even more and more relaxed. And then you get to the blanket and you settle in. And you might even want to call in your spirit animal to kind of assist you or go through this with you. And there's nothing for you to do here. There's nothing to be or feel or anything. Just let yourself be exactly as you are. There's not even any need to control your thoughts. You can let them have their way. And just feel what it's like to be in this space. And I'll let you rest here for a little while. And don't worry, I'll come back and get you when we're ready to move on. Just allow yourself the space and the time to be free here. Just be exactly as you are. Without rushing, it's time to go. Again, knowing you can return here. Your spirit animal has joined you. You can thank them for staying by your side and watch them go. And then you gently make your way back to the forest, back to where you came. Taking your time, and with each motion forward, you tap into your body, to your breath, to the area that you're in, to the present moment. And then you can allow yourself to gently come out of the meditation and do the palms in front of your heart together in prayer and rub them together, creating a little bit of friction. Being mindful of any eyewear, you can cup them over your eyes. If your eyes are closed, you can gently blink them open and let your hands fall back down to your lap. And back. Thank you all so much. Sorry, we went a little over. And I'll put my contact info there for anybody who has questions or want insight into their spirit animal or their gift or whatever, or anything about Reiki or anything else, really, feel free to contact me. And thank you again so much for having me. And it's been so much fun. And I hope you guys learned something.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Marcelle. This was really amazing. I can definitely feel the energy and the shift, and I hope a lot of other Hopefully other people on the screen did too. I took a photo of the information that she has here on this last slide. So what I will do when I send out the recording later this evening is I will make sure to attach her contact information in the email as well, so that you guys will also have that. But again, thank you so much for giving us your time and this amazing information. I'm also one of those like nerdy science kids, but then like I always find my way back to what my brother calls rock science. So, you know, my crystals and my energy healing. So I'm glad to know that there's other people on the same journey who can kind of manifest both fields. So
Absolutely.
thank you. Just give a big thank you to Marcelle. If you want to turn your camera on, I would love that. I'm gonna take a nice little group photo of everyone before we head out. Go ahead and smile, everybody. Perfect. Oh, Joe got on. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Thank you everyone for joining again. I appreciate like I said, I appreciate you investing in yourself, but I do appreciate you hanging out with us as well, and giving Marcelle your time and listening to her. You guys were all really amazing. Tomorrow, please come back. We have another really great speaker who's going to talk about her nonprofit and how they help individuals with disability and finding funding for different things. And then again, Friday, we will end the week with me from Wheel with Me Fitness. We're going to have a nice little workout, probably do a little bit of cardio at first, and then maybe some resistance bands or something at the end. So just have a really amazing night. Please take this energy into your evening and into the rest of the week with you guys. And I will see you guys tomorrow.
Drink lots of water, everybody.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.